moved into mile-high hours, kind of like the Ithaca hours, where time was money. And so we were setting up all these businesses to take our currency, and so I was kind of focused on that instead of trying to figure out what Bitcoin was. And it was difficult back then to do it. You know, my first Bitcoin that I bought, I had to go down to Walgreens, get myself one of these green dot cards, and then I had to figure out how the Tor worked, which, like, I barely knew how to do emails, right? So I'm like, what is the Tor? I have to run this to find this website called the Silk Road. How do I get to the Silk Road? I can't just go there, right? And finally I got to the Silk Road, got my green dot card. I found somebody that was selling Bitcoin, it was so sketchy, and I was like, well, I guess I'll just give him my green dot card number and cross my fingers, and hopefully my Bitcoin will show up. And by golly, it did. A half hour later, I got 250 Bitcoin for $200. It was 85 cents at the time. And then my friend left me alone, and I was like, great, I got my Bitcoin, see, blah, 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 leave me alone. And he didn't talk to me about it for like a year, and I didn't think about it for about a year. But then I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw a video that talked about Bitcoin. And I got some Bitcoin, I clicked and I watched the video, and oh my gosh, it's like the greatest invention ever. I got so excited, and I remembered, oh, my friend told me that I should get some Bitcoin. So I go over and I log into my wallet to see, and my $200 is now worth 40 grand. And my jaw dropped to the floor, and I was like, what's Bitcoin? What is this? I mean, I didn't understand. What gives it value, like the gentleman just asked? What backs Bitcoin? Why is it going from $1 a Bitcoin to $10 a Bitcoin, $100 a Bitcoin to $500? I didn't understand. So I spent the day just educating myself. I sat on YouTube for literally hours, just watching one Bitcoin movie after the next. I learned how Bitcoin was created and what the blockchain is, etc. And so that was I called my friend back and I was like, dude, you totally explained this wrong to me. You know, you ruined it. If you would have explained it right, I would have bought at least $2,000 worth instead of $200 worth. You know, and I talked to friends of mine who got it, like the UPS driver that used to deliver packages to my house every day. He said, well, what are you investing in now? And I said, well, I heard about this thing called Bitcoin. Little did I know, the UPS driver went home, invested 10 grand into Bitcoin. Found me on Facebook. I moved, left the house, all this stuff. He found me on Facebook just to thank me because he said, hey, your tip on buying Bitcoin, I put 10 grand in, it's worth $1.2 million now. I no longer work for UPS. I paid off my house, paid off my car. I was like, this guy made money. This guy made more money than I did. Like, I put in $200, he put in 10 grand, he made millions, and I'm like, you know. And another friend put in 100 grand after he sold one of his houses. It's now worth $27 million. The guy never has to work again. I'm like, everyone else is making all this money, and I just seem to be giving it away. Wasn't making any money. How many of you guys have ever sat someone down and got them a wallet and give them a Bitcoin? How many of you guys have ever done that with a friend? You know, kind of like being a little disciple, if you will. Yeah, a lot of you guys have. I would do that all the time. I remember up at Pork Fest, some Free Staters from New Hampshire here, I was up there. I think Pork Fest is where Bitcoin really started, I think. I mean, I remember, people, buy hamburgers and hot dogs and everything in there. If you haven't been to Pork Fest, you guys should check it out. It's in June every year. And that's where I really kind of got indoctrinated in the whole cryptography side of this whole project. I remember I bought one of these Bitcoin Nut Bombs t-shirts. I see some people wearing them, the orange ones. And so I bought one of those for $1 Bitcoin. And it was a large, and over the years I'm now an extra large. And I saw the guy the other day, I was like, hey man, can I get an extra large instead of a large? This shirt doesn't even fit me anymore. I give you a Bitcoin, man. That shirt's like a $1,200 t-shirt, man. So I'm just gonna frame it on my wall and hang it there and be like, well, when Bitcoin's 10 grand a Bitcoin, I'm like, there's my $10,000 t-shirt. That's why I tell him, he's holding on to his Bitcoin, but I'm trying to get everybody to do it. So I spent about a year or two just going around, setting people up with wallets, giving them a Bitcoin, or now it's like 1/10 of a Bitcoin or whatever. And I did this over and over and over again, and it was like I was talking to a wall with a lot of people. It was just hard to get them to do anything. That's why I was talking about doing this Coinbase thing. At least I get paid every time I set someone up with a wallet, and then when they forget their password, as they inevitably do, then they can get that back and get back into their account. I used to think people would get what I got right away, and so you go right into the college education conversation when these people are still in kindergarten, you know what I'm saying? So you have to start people out slow. And so for me, I was always spending all this money, always just giving away all this free Bitcoin, never making any money. If you recommend Bitcoin to a friend and he goes and buys 10 Bitcoin and he makes money on the gain of the value of Bitcoin, that's great. You helped your friend make some money, but you didn't make any money, right? And we all have to do something to make money. And my thought was, I started out young as an entrepreneur. I read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How many of you guys have ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Oh, you guys get it then. Cash flow quadrant, buying assets instead of doodads and all that kind of stuff. In my mind, I thought one of the aha moments for me was, I have 50 grand. Is it smarter for me to take my 50 grand and buy a Mercedes-Benz? And voila, I have the car, or is it smarter to take the 50 grand and buy an asset that generates cash flow to pay the monthly car payments? 3 years later, the car is paid for, but then I still have that asset generating cash flow to buy myself a jet skis or a motorboat or whatever. So in my mind, I thought it was smarter to focus on buying assets, things that create cash flow. And this is where I kind of came back and I thought, I love Bitcoin, I love the idea of knocking out the Fed, blah, blah, blah. I read Creature from Jekyll Island, I got it. And how can I actually make money doing this? You got to make money. A lot of us have jobs, waiting tables or working as mechanics or whatever we're doing. We have to do that to put food on the table, pay our rent, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to figure out a way to get paid full-time income to travel around the world and promote Bitcoin. And I wasn't figuring it out. It took me 3 years until we finally did it. But what I decided to do is look into Bitcoin mining and how is this currency created. So a crash course on mining works like this. When Bitcoin started, to incentivize everybody to run the protocol, to run this software, to track all the Bitcoin transactions around the world and secure the blockchain. When this all started, how do you monetize or incentivize people to donate their computer processing power and monetize their bandwidth? So when people told me about Bitcoin, I instantly got it because I understood how the BitTorrent network worked. You know how all of us remember Napster? It was centralized servers. People could download music and movies from these big centralized servers. But then what happened was the government came in and shut it down because there was a centralized location to shut it down from. And then somebody created the software called the BitTorrent software where if you run this, you can file share movies and music and all that. And you go today now on Pirate Bay or Views or BT Junkie or whatever, kick-ass torrents, you can download any music and any movies you want because there's no central location for them to shut it down. It's this distributed network of millions of computers that just share files within each other, and now you can't shut it down. So the currency that runs on this distributed network of all these computers around the world, that is Bitcoin, how do we incentivize all these computers that are running the BitTorrent software to run the Bitcoin software? There's already this distributed network of millions of computers around the world. How do you do it? Well, you got to give them free Bitcoin for running it. So that's how it started. Every 10 minutes when a block was solved by one of the computers in the network, 50 Bitcoin was given away. 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin, 50 Bitcoin. And that happened for 4 years. And then we had what's called a halving year, which is programmed into the software. So now it was 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, 25 Bitcoin to one of the computers in the network. Well, last July, we had another halving year. Now it's 12.5 Bitcoin is the reward for the miners, for the people that donate their computer processing power. And most people have extra computers. They're already paying a monthly rate for their internet, so instead of just putting their computer away and going to bed, they would leave their computer open all night, press a button, then they go to bed all night long, the computer's working away, helping to audit all the Bitcoin transactions around the world and secure the blockchain, and when they wake up the next morning, their computer made them money. You just press button and the thing makes you money while you're sleeping. So I thought, that's interesting. So Bitcoin mining is every 4 years a halving year. Next 4 years from now will be 6 Bitcoin every 10 minutes, then will be 3. And the last Bitcoin will be mined in the year 2140. We've got 16 million in circulation at the moment, but by that point, when we're all dead and gone, there'll be a max of 21 million Bitcoin circulating around the world. But what I thought was interesting about all this is Bitcoin is actually programmable money. So you can actually take one Bitcoin and break it down into 100 million bits. And you can take that one little bit and program it to be something of value, anything of value. They're calling it the Internet of Things, where we can tokenize anything of value, digitize it, put it up on the blockchain, and trade it. Whether that little bit represents title to real estate, where a lot of countries around the world are putting their real estate up on the blockchain, or barrels of oil, or shipping containers, or sneakers, or diamonds, or votes in elections, etc. You can tokenize pretty much anything. So I looked at it like this. We have Microsoft here, which is the operating system of the computer, right? And then all these other millions of computer software programming companies build platforms to ride on top of the Microsoft operating system, the API right into it, right? There's millions of software companies, but Microsoft is the big daddy because it's the operating system of the actual computer. So you've got the blockchain, right? Kind of like Microsoft, this is the blockchain. There are venture capitalists out there that are spending billions of dollars developing apps to plug into the blockchain. Now, what's cool about this whole thing is the miners secure the blockchain. So imagine if we as miners got paid $1 for every real estate transaction that takes place somewhere around the world, or every time a shipping container moves from Singapore to Long Beach, or every time a barrel of oil moves, because anything that's taking place and happening over the blockchain, we, the miners, get a little piece of every transaction that takes place. Miners not only get that block reward of new Bitcoin being created, but they also get all the transaction fees that took place within that block. So I step back and I look at this like, okay, wait, millions of people have Visa cards, right? Visa's got these big warehouses, these data centers with servers, and they're tracking all these Visa transactions, billions of dollars every day. And every time that card swipes, Visa gets a 3% rake off the top. So Visa's making $100 million every day, right? Or something like that. I don't know what they're making every day. A lot of money. Because all you guys all have Visa cards, right? So, and all over the world, it's a money machine every single day. So I thought, well, what if we did the same thing, but did it with Bitcoin and the blockchain, got our own data center, track all the transactions around the world and secure the blockchain, and then that will make us money. But Visa only makes money when Visa transactions take place. They don't make money when real estate is sold or shipping containers move or when American Express does a swipe. Visa only makes money when Visa. On our hand, the idea is we'll get a piece of every real estate transaction. Anytime a vote happens, anytime whatever happens on the blockchain, get a piece of the global economy. Imagine getting a little small percentage of all the transactions that take place over the blockchain on planet Earth, anywhere around the world. That's the vision that I saw. I was like, oh my gosh, we should get into Bitcoin mining. So I started going around to these conferences and stuff, meeting interesting people, and I thought, well, you guys know how you got your iPhone. It was an iPhone 3, and you're like using it, and all of a sudden the iPhone 4 is out. And you're like, crap. So you sell the 3, you get the 4, and you're just like, oh my gosh, the iPhone 5 is out now, and the iPhone 6 is out. Now it's the iPhone 7, right? Technology keeps getting better and better. Well, same with these chips and this mining equipment. It's very hard to stay competitive with, if you're wanting to get into mining, you got to get the new tech all the time, more efficient stuff, whatever your power is, try to get the cheapest power and all that stuff. So I'm trying to do this research and figure out how can we make this profitable. How many of you guys have ever bought any mining equipment and tried to mine yourselves? Got a couple people? Cool. So my thought is this. When I was younger, I used to sell M&Ms and stuff door to door to raise money for my Little League baseball team. And I would go to, because you could get like $1 for a pack of M&Ms. Even today, you go to the OXXO grocery gas station, 7-Eleven. When you go buy a thing of M&Ms, a pack of M&Ms from the OXXO, you're paying, let's say, $1 for a pack. But if you bought a whole box, you're now paying 75 cents a pack. So you're saving some money. If you go to Costco like I did and buy, a case of M&Ms, I was getting them for 15, 20 cents a pack. So there's discounts when you're buying in bulk. That's why you pay a lot when you're buying one unit, but if you're buying a pallet of M&Ms, I'm getting those things for 8 cents a thing. So I used to do this. I'd go to Costco, I'd buy all these M&Ms, buy them in bulk. I go door to door. It's $1.50 for one pack or two for $2, and I just sold them nonstop all day long because I bought in bulk, and then I sold retail. Well, the same thing happens with Bitcoin mining hardware. Some people, if they're just going to mine in their basement, they buy a unit for, let's say, $1,000, and voila, they're mining their Bitcoin, but they're paying retail because they're only buying one. So I got thinking to myself, I need to find out who's making the best chips And it turns out to be two companies, Bitmain and Bitfury. And so I went out there and made some good relationships with those guys. And I thought to myself, some people over here are going to buy one unit for $1,000 bucks. But if I put $1 million in, I'm going to get those $1,000 units down to like $400 bucks. So I'll get a big discount just like I was doing with M&Ms. And so you guys know how you take a picture, it's a megabyte, right? And if you have 1,000 megabytes, it equals a gigabyte. And 1,000 gigabytes makes a terabyte, and 1,000 terabytes equals a petabyte, okay? So let's consider, in processing speed for computers, a laptop computer is, let's call it 1 gigahertz, or 1 gigahash, we'll call that. So 1 gigahash is the speed of the laptop. So if I get 1,000 laptops together, chumming away, now 1,000 times that would be a terahash. And then you got 1,000 terahashes equals a petahash. A petahash is basically 1 million laptop computers going in terms of computer processing speed. A petahash. Imagine a room with 1 million laptop computers going. It's quite an electric bill, right? But do you think that you would get a better price if I bought 1 million laptop computers versus just buying one? Obviously, I'm buying in bulk. So that was the idea. So we started a club called Bitclub, which we now have 100 petahash, which is the equivalent of 100 million laptop computers, which is in the second largest data center in the world out in Iceland. It's called Verne Global. And we chose Iceland because we're paying the electric bill, which is only 6 cents a kilowatt hour, which if you tried to go mine in California, let's say, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 pricing, et cetera, you're starting to chump through a lot of electricity. They're paying 40 cents a kilowatt hour in California. So am I going to be more profitable paying 40 cents a kilowatt hour or be more profitable paying 6 cents a kilowatt hour? And because it's Iceland, I don't have to spend a lot of money on the electric bill to run the air conditioning units, et cetera, to keep all the chips and the computers cold. So that's what we decided to do. And now it's really fun because I can go around the world, I can talk with people about Bitcoin and actually get paid now to have a full-time income traveling around the world. And how this basically works, and why I think all of you guys should get involved with what we're doing, is really simple. Let's say I get that $1,000 piece of equipment, I get the price down to 400 bucks. That gives some leeway there to create a commission structure to pay people a full-time income to start talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, educating people. This is mining, this is where Bitcoin is created. This is an exchange. This is where you turn your Bitcoin in and out for fiat currency. So this is a wallet. You hold your Bitcoins here. I mean, all that takes time to educate someone. You're going to spend a half hour doing it. You should at least get paid for it. So we figured out a way to pay people to promote and educate their friends about Bitcoin. We also have something called CoinPay, which is a merchant acquisition program to actually pay you to go and sign up your hotels in your neighborhood and your restaurants and your gasoline stations and the grocery stores to become merchants to accept Bitcoin, because the more people that are using Bitcoin and the more businesses that accept Bitcoin, the more valuable Bitcoin becomes. It's supply and demand, right? That's what Tom was saying just earlier. So the way we decided to do it is we set up our data center, and so how this basically works is we have all of our laptop computers, not really laptops, they're this terahashing or petahashing equipment, these chips, these 16 nanometer chips that are really efficient, and they burn through a lot less electricity than most of the chips out there right now. And so we've got a huge data center, and whatever it generates each day, it gets paid out in a daily dividend to our shareholders that buy shares in our pool, which it's not really a stock or a security. It's actually physical Bitcoin mining hardware. So what happens is people that want to start mining with us and help us crowdfund our data center, they'll buy shares. We sell them for, you've got to become a member of Bitclub, which is $100. And then we sell shares for $500 a share. And this is how it works. That equates to Bitcoin mining hardware, so we ship that off to Iceland. We link it together with all the other computer equipment that we have in the data center, and then that hashes. And hashes. You plug it in, and it just goes 24/7. You don't have to pay Obamacare on that robot making you money. They don't complain about working overtime and all this stuff. You just plug it in. We basically are selling machines that print money. That's what this is. Bitcoin mining hardware is a machine that prints money. And so that's what we're doing. And whatever the data center generates each day is paid out to our investors in a daily dividend that is paid out right now in Bitcoin. We have over 50,000 people around the world in 80 countries now. And we're paying these people in Bitcoin every single day. And it's generating great money. We've already hit over 2,000 blocks, which each block is around $15,000 or so right now in Bitcoin. So if you calculate that out, that's like paying out close to $30 million to our investors already. So you can track it. It's all over the blockchain. You can see what mining pools are doing what. You got the Ant pool that's going well, the Bitfury is going well, but you'll see us on that little chart as well if you go to blockchain.info. So that's basically what we've been doing. We've created a wonderful way for you to also help us crowdfund the mine. If you have any friends or loved ones that you want to get into Bitcoin and help them, put the Bitcoin to work. If you buy 10 ounces of gold and put it into a safe, 5 years later, you're only going to have 10 ounces of gold still. If you buy 10 Bitcoin and put it in a vault and wait 5 years later, you're still only going to have 10 Bitcoin. So my thought is, instead of doing that and just holding it and waiting, put that money to work, and instead of just buying the 10 Bitcoin and holding it, I think it's smarter to take that money and buy Bitcoin mining hardware, which generates you a bunch of Bitcoin, right? Because 5 years later, you might have 12, 15, 20 Bitcoin. Who knows? So that's kind of the idea, is buying the asset, have it start generating cash flow daily in Bitcoin, and then just, that's basically how we set it up. So if you refer some people, we've got that, you make a 5% commission off of whatever they invest, whatever they buy, and so you can actually make a little money referring people, and that's kind of how we've been doing it. We've been taking it all over the world. Last year I was able to talk about this over 240 cities last year, done to about 120 countries now, and it is a legitimate, real thing that's happening. We have physical Bitcoin mining hardware that is creating Bitcoin for us now. There's $2 million a day that's up for grabs. Every single day, $2 million a day is given away in Bitcoin. $2 million is up for grabs. So right now we're capturing about 100 grand a day. So there's a lot more room for us to grow. But we want to capture as much as that $2 million that we get every day. So that's how I figured out how to be a full-time Bitcoin promoter. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have in the meantime. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll do a little Q&A. How much time is left? Oh, cool, great. We got plenty of time if you guys have any questions or comments you'd like to make.
Okay. I think it's really great what you're doing, because I've had to incentivize. I've been advocating Bitcoin in my local community, and I was trying to figure out how I could, make money off doing that. And thank you for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd also like to know, since Bitcoin right now, as we know it, the full node service, in order to maintain the blockchain, is quote a charity service right now. How could we incentivize that in the future to, pay people to actually maintain the blockchain?
Well, paying people is a wonderful way to incentivize people. So, there's a lot of really smart, creative people in this space that are way smarter than me, and I love going to all these events and listening to them, and they got good ideas on how to solve these issues. I just recently set up my own node in my own house, because one of the cool things that happened with us recently is our mine hit the biggest block in Bitcoin history. Someone by accident the other day, they meant to send like $150,000 and tag on a $5 miner fee, but they sent $5 and tagged on a $150,000 miner fee. So when we hit the block, we were only expecting 12 Bitcoin, and all of a sudden we got 150 grand in Bitcoin because of the transaction fees. So I was like, well, what are we got to give this back to the poor guy that hit this block, or that made this mistake. So we put the word out. Who made the mistake? We know how you feel. I've made stupid mistakes before too, and we're willing to give you your money back for $150,000 miner fee. So we hit this. We went around and we couldn't find the owner who made the mistake. It might have been some Chinese guy that wasn't reading English when we were saying, hey, we'd like to give this back. So we decided that instead of keeping it for ourselves, we would split it all up and give some to Coin Center. And so we made a $5,000 donation to Coin Center, and they sent me my first node. So now I have a node. I got a Coin Center t-shirt. The Bitcoin Alliance, or the Blockchain Alliance, Digital Chamber of Commerce, we gave 50, 60 grand to Bruce Fenton over there at the Bitcoin Foundation, et cetera. So I got to play Santa Claus. It was kind of cool. So I got to divvy out this big, donate to all these charities, which is a lot of fun. So go ahead.
Hi, Joby. This is JP from Phoenix.
Okay.
And so you mentioned you're earning about $100,000 a day, so monthly maybe $3 million a month.
Right.
And so how many Bitcoin miners do you have in at your facility?
So we've got about 100 petahash right now. We just put in another order for 60 petahash, which we should be taking delivery on the next 60 days or so. By the end of the year, we should have about 300 petahash going, which, like I said, a petahash is the equivalent of 1 million laptop computers. So we're getting up there. Our power bill is $1 million a month.
$1 million a month?
That's our power bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so what happens is like about a third of the money we're bringing in, we actually have to spend on electricity. So if you guys have any good ideas on like free energy, magnetic motor, thermal depolymerization type technologies, we're all ears. I think the Bitcoin miners are going to be the ones that actually bring the free energy to the world because it's so expensive to run all these computer chips and stuff. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Anybody else got it? There's Make Bitcoin Great Again hat. I like that.
Thank you. My question is like, so when you got this crazy transaction there going, why didn't you send it to the original send from address back?
It came out of a mixer. We didn't know who it was. So I'd rather just give it to a bunch of charities instead of keep it for ourselves because I didn't feel like we earned it, you know. And plus, I want to. Like Tone was saying, there's a lot of scammers out there that are doing a lot of unethical things and ripping people off, and I wanted to make sure that people knew that we're different than just because we're using Bitcoin doesn't mean we're a bunch of criminals. We aren't trying to scam people, and so I did that as kind of like good faith to prove, hey, if we were scammers, we would have just pocketed the money and said, screw you guys, but we didn't. We gave it to a lot of charities in the space, and hopefully we don't get as much flack because there are a lot of cloud mining things out there, but we're not actually really like that because you're actually buying physical Bitcoin mining hardware, and if you ever want to take delivery of it, call us up, send us an email, and we'll ship you your equipment right to your doorstep. You can mine at home if you don't want to mine in our data center and reap the profits and the benefits from buying at such a deep discount and then getting electricity for so cheap. It's so much more profitable, I feel, doing it this way than having, you know, a bunch of miners in your basements around. I mean, it's more distributed that way, and there's an argument there too, but I'm looking at this long-term, like, you know, when real estate's being transacted on the blockchain, when all these other things start taking place, you know, there's going to be some serious cash. And I was just thinking about this a second ago. When we go into a business and say, hey, you guys take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, right? And the restaurant or the hotel says yes. We say, well, you should take this little widget and add Bitcoin, and now people can pay you in Bitcoin. Too, you know, instead of paying 3% like you do with Visa, we're only going to charge you 1%. Right? And you don't get any chargebacks. That's another big thing for merchants is no chargebacks. So merchants say yes. We take that 1% fee from all these thousands of businesses. We pool that 1% fee, and we pay that out to our shareholders in that pool as well. So you can get a piece of all the transactions in Bitcoin from all the businesses around the world that all of our club members go and sign up. So that's happening too. And we're also in negotiations right now to have this ATM network as a part of it as well. So we're doing lots of new things, not just mining, but merchant acquisition, et cetera, as well. You got a question right there?
Yes. So in the past, when I looked into your products, they were always intentionally intransparent, in my opinion. For example, I could never find any information about what kind of hardware is being bought or how many hash you're even buying.
If you go to bitclubpool.com.
Because you're basically just buying a relative share, and you have not even any information about how many shares are there in total. So you're basically buying a black box. Can you please tell more about
Yeah, so what I do is I buy these block boxes, which are 7.5 petahash. They're about $1.2 million or so. And these block boxes, you know, not everyone's got $1 million. So we just buy that, we parcel it out to the shareholders. Whatever the box generates each day is evenly dispersed to those investors that, you know, help crowdfund and buy into the block box. So we get those, and if you think about it, each block box currently at the difficulty, because the Bitcoin network difficulty changes every day, and the price of Bitcoin changes every second, so it's kind of hard to like calculate what people's returns will be. So we've tried to underpromise and overdeliver, and you know we've been doing pretty well. About 3 to 5% a month is what we've currently been doing, but that's all determined on the difficulty and the price of Bitcoin, which I don't know what that's going to be in 3 months. So it's kind of like, here it is. But currently, one of these block boxes generates 5 Bitcoin a day. So 5 Bitcoin a day, call it $1,000 a Bitcoin, that's $5,000 a day. Costs about 50 grand a month to run it, because it's 1 megawatt of electricity. So if it's $5,000 a day, times 30 days, it's 150 grand minus the 50 grand for the power bill. So we're at 100 grand a month profit. After 12 months, that's $1.2 million. That covers the cost of the box, which is $1.2 million. So the idea is to get into ROI within our first year, and then just generating whatever is after that is profit, right? It's kind of like buying a solar panel. You know, the upfront CapEx cost is, let's say, $10,000, so you're paying until that $10,000 is off, and then everything after that, that solar power is generating electricity. Once you get your initial investment back, everything after that is profit. So, you know, a year from now, the price of Bitcoin, a lot of us are thinking is going to be $2,500, $3,000. So it's going to be nice when this thing is starting to generate Bitcoin after it pays for itself, because we're going to be getting Bitcoin at a higher rate. You had a question? Oh, you have a question.
I like what you're doing.
Thanks.
And like when this all first started out, you could do this on a little crummy laptop, but the processing power increased and increased and increased. Do you foresee all of the hardware that you have now becoming obsolete?
Absolutely. We have to update it all the time. So let's say someone were to, let's say, JR, you refer me. So I decide I'm going to invest $1,000. I'm going to buy 2 shares in the pool, let's say. So you would make a $50 referral bonus for referring me. So there we go. Makes $50. Now, let's say that my shares are going, I got 2 shares, let's say they're making $2 a day per share. So let's say in the back office you can have it do a 50-50 split, a 60-40 split, or a 70-30 split, meaning you can compound your daily dividend. So let's say if it's $2 a day and it's at a 50-50 split, that means I'm pulling $2 a day out and putting it in my wallet, and the other $2 goes back into buying me a 3rd share. So in 250 days times $2, that's $500, that's 3 shares now. So those 3 shares work together, buy you a 4th share. The 4 shares work together, buy you a 5th share, so that's compounding. Meanwhile, I'm still pulling out $2 a day, putting that in my pocket. I got my initial investment back, and now I'm basically playing with the house's money. So that's kind of like how this works. Now, why do we have that rebuy? Because we want that you go from that iPhone 3, think about, you know, we're hashing, because when we started with Bitmain, it was the S3s to the S5s to the S7s to the S9s. Same with, like, say your iPhone is hashing Bitcoin. You got an iPhone 3, but you don't want to pull all the money out because you got to save a little aside to buy the iPhone 4 when that comes out. iPhone 4 comes out, you sell the 3, you hash, saving, let's say, 30% to the side. You know, you're pulling out 70%. Because you know the iPhone 5 is going to come out. When the 5 comes out, you sell the 4, you take what you saved, hash again, because you know the iPhone 6 is, so you want to always save a little bit on the side so that you can re-up every time the next model chip goes from the 28 nanometer chips to the 16 nanometer chips. So that's why we do that. Plus, it's nice to just have it compounding, and then you're just like, wow, this thing continues going and going and going, and you got these machines that print money. And one of the really cool things about the whole program is you literally don't have to tell anyone for you to make money, because the machines are actually making money. A lot of these programs out there, any kind of network marketing program out there, it's usually you sign up, and then you don't make any money until you sign your friend up. And if your friend's buying the vitamins or minerals or whatever they're buying, after like 6 months, if they stop buying product, the commissions stop flowing to you. And if you stop ordering product, then you don't get a check either. Most people hate that about network marketing. They hate having to tell their friends about something. They hate that automatic order. They got in to make money, not to spend money. So most people hate network marketing for that very reason. And so we decided just to get rid of that. There's no requirement for you to tell anyone. You don't have to tell anyone. You're still going to make money because the machines are making us money. And there's no automatic order, so you're not spending anything either. So it's different than most opportunities out there. I think it's awesome. We're doing it in all the countries all around the world now, and educating people about Bitcoin, getting them mining, getting them in their restaurants, in the grocery stores, in their gas stations, in their businesses to accept Bitcoin. And of course, it makes the ecosystem better too. OT. Oh, someone over here?
Yes. You're paying 6 cents for your electricity.
Yes.
What are your most efficient competitors paying for theirs?
Oh,
and second part,
yeah.
How long would it take if I invested today to recoup my investment?
That's hard to say.
I guess.
It all depends on the price of Bitcoin, the difficulty, how many blocks we're hitting. But I look at it. It's an argument. My one friend looked at me and he said, I think it's better to buy and hold Bitcoin because of the value of Bitcoin going up and the speculation and all that, than it is to buying mining shares and mining Bitcoin. For me, it's stressful to see the price change every 10 minutes, and I got my friends, well, should I sell now or should I buy? The price of Bitcoin jumped up $80 today. Should I buy or sell? I'm like, that stresses me out. It feels like I'm in a casino, I'm playing heads or tails or roulette, and it's all in black. I don't like that feeling to me. It makes me stressed out. So I just like having Bitcoin just coming into me, paying me every day. I don't care what the price of Bitcoin is because I just get paid in Bitcoin every day, whether it's up or down. It doesn't matter to me. And that's easier for me than knowing when I'm supposed to buy, when I'm supposed to sell, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's just how I prefer to do it. But you look at most people out there. My buddy had a garage full of tires. He's like, I'm going to sell these tires and buy some mining shares. I'm like, that's probably a good idea. You'll probably make more money than having the tires just sit there not making you any money. Turn the tires into mining shares, mine Bitcoin. So there's a lot of things out there that people are doing. Some might be more profitable than mining. Some might not be as profitable. I think if you have $10,000 in Federal Reserve note cash and you're saving it in the bank 5 years later, that $10,000 in Federal Reserve notes more than likely isn't only going to buy you $9,800 worth of stuff. So it's going to lose value if you're saving dollars. If you're saving gold and silver, you have 10 ounces, like I said, of silver in your safe. 5 years later, you still only have 10 ounces of silver. So to me, I think in my life, because I used to do silver and gold, I just wanted to put my money to work for me. My first goal was I just want to have 1 Bitcoin a day coming to me. I'm just going to work this thing, and I'm just going to get 1 Bitcoin coming to me every day. And that was my first goal. And it wasn't hard to get to there. And now I'm helping a lot of my friends, making lots of Bitcoin. And go ahead.
I have a question for the sake of the audience. What you were talking about.
Here's a microphone right there.
Your analogy when you said, you have to bring people along slowly. You're at the college level, and then, you're talking to people that are in kindergarten in regards to this. The barrier to entry into mining is comprehension. So, for the sake of the audience, where can they go to get educated, to get their hand held as they go through the process? Because you have to be enrolled by a member.
Right. So you can't join Bitclub. It's like a country club. A member has to invite you in. You get a link. We'll invite you in if you have a pen or a piece of paper, write down, and you can just watch the videos and everything that are on there. It goes, what is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin mining? How does Bitclub work? And then that's all you do. And then if you want to become a member, it's $99 to join, and then you got that same replicated page translated out in 25 different languages. So if you have friends that speak Russian or Japanese or Korean, you can send them a link and it explains it all in Bitcoin, all in Korean or Japanese. So you don't even have to speak Chinese if you don't want to, if you want to make money doing this, because we already have the website, everything translated out for you. So I appreciate your questions. I appreciate you guys listening to me. It's really fun to be a part of this Anarchapulco. I love all you guys, and keep fighting the good fight. Cheers, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joby Weeks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joby. All right.